Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz, where we are promoting jazz through telling the stories. Today we are presenting part one of our two-part interview with master drummer, band leader, educator, and original Blackbyrd member, Mr. Keith Kilgo. We ask you to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help us to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Enjoy the video. Hello, I'm saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz. And today we have the master drummer, educator, band leader, and original Blackbyrds member, Mr. Keith Kilgo. Keith, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Tom. How you, man?
Oh, man. I'm honored to have you on this program, man. We go back and we're going to talk about that. So a conversation in jazz is to learn the story behind the story. So we know you just didn't get here by osmosis. But as long as I've known you, there's some probably parts that I don't know.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask some questions. And the first question I'm going to ask you is, who is Keith Kilgo?
Keith Kilgo is probably the craziest guy I know. he has no sense. But I've never been scared to do something, you know. My father was a musician, you know, and music just drew me in, man. They used to rehearse in the basement, and, you know, Mickey Newman used to leave his drums down there, and I'd sneak down there and go try to play on.
But you're from D.C.?
I'm from D.C. I actually was born in Annapolis, and then, you know, moved.
But you grew up in D.C.?
I grew up in D.C., you know, Northwest.
And where'd you go to school?
Went to Paul Junior High School, John Burroughs Elementary School, Brightwood Elementary School, and Calvin Coolidge High School, and after that, Howard University.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what attracted you to music? How'd you decide? First of all, I want to play the drums, and I know you play other instruments and you sing. But we're going to start with. Was drums your first instrument?
No, piano was.
Oh wow! See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, piano. Because my dad played piano. So in my basement, there were a lot of things that went on in my basement, but one of the things that went on in my basement was that they would have rehearsal on Saturday. So, you know, my father played with the JFK Quintet. That was, but the rehearsals, and even before that, there was a club in D.C. called the Casbah and some other jazz clubs. Anyway, they used to rehearse on Saturdays, and the cats would come down, and, you know, I just sat there, man, and say, man, this has got to be the stuff. I don't know what they're doing, but man, this looks good, you know? And it was some kind of freedom that they had.
So because I know you was a drummer.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, that's what even though you sing and all that. But how'd you say, okay, did you see the shiny drums or some drum set? And boom?
I mean, pretty much, I played the piano, I studied for a while, and I didn't really want to read all them notes. I'm like, man, that's just way too many notes. You know what I'm saying? I just want to play this thing, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really want to, well, you know, I know you're supposed to do that, but, you know, I was, again, Mickey Newman left his drums, and I would play around on them. So I just said, well, I'm gonna play the drums, but I didn't have no drums, man. You know how old I am. So I had a Quaker Oats box, okay? I had a piece of plywood, and my father bought me, I'm like, boy, he ain't buying nothing, but he had possession of a bass drum and a hi-hat. And I was down the basement, man, playing Bohemian Delight with Art Blakey on the records on that. That's how I started.
So did you have formal drum lessons?
Never.
Really?
I never studied. I didn't start studying the drums until I was in college.
You know what's deep about that is there's a certain thing you get when you learn just not through study, but just through exploration.
Right.
You know, sometimes you go to school and they say, okay, this is a whole note, and that's how I was taught. That's how I learned music. This is a half note, you know, I became a good reader,
Right.
but I wasn't necessarily listening, playing, you know, to what's going around me. I'm focusing on music, but you were playing along with the records.
Yeah.
And what's the benefit of developing that way?
Well, developing that way, you develop the feel for it. You know, I mean, music, black notes don't have no feeling. They just notes.
Wow.
You know, the only person that put the feeling in is you. And so I grew up, you know, and I was in the 60s, man, Motown was out, so, you know, we trying to get funky with it, you know. And, you know, Buchanan was my hero, along with a lot of them, but, you know, he was like the funkiest jazz drummer.
Buchanan,
Art Blakey, yeah.
So was he your main influence? Or?
He was one of he and Philly Joe Jones were my main influences. I mean, of course, I went from there to Elvin, and then from Elvin to Tony, and many other wonderful drummers. But in terms of being band leaders, okay, in terms of, you know, having their own style of music, you know, and employing some of the greatest musicians on the planet, Clifford Brown and Lou Donaldson and Donald Byrd and Horace Silver and all those cats. So that drew me to it as well, because it was like, okay, so they always call it the drummer, man, but this guy's in charge. Yeah. I like that.
So did you get to see any of those cats?
Yes, I was fortunate enough that during that time the Bohemian Caverns was doing, you know, those cats were coming every month or every couple of months. And so I went down to see Art Blakey, and it was McCoy Tyner, Junie Booth, Frank Mitchell, Slide Hampton, and Bill Hardman playing trumpet. But it wasn't Freddie and you know, because all them cats was doing their own thing, whatever. And I didn't understand that part then at all. And went down to see Boo, and you know, I was never scared. So I said, man, I want to play. He says, play what? I said, drums. What drum do you want to play? Which one? There's several of them up there. Which one? I said, I want to play all of them. He said, okay. And so I sat in with him. I played, I don't know, blues or something. And he gave me like my first Getz bass drum pedal.
Who did?
Art Blakey.
Really?
Yeah, and I still have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man.
So old, raggedy Getz bass drum pedal.
So were you gigging around the Washington, D.C. area?
Well, during that time, I could only go where my mother would take me, you know, because I
You were the only child?
I was the only child.
Okay.
So, you know, she had to put the drums in the car, and
gotcha,
you know,
gotcha.
and you know, oh, don't touch my baby, you know, you know, I did all that. But yeah, I would gig little things. You know, primarily I played with my dad, you know, for the most part, when we did like little trio things, or you know, we you know, quartets and things like that. So, I mean, I was like gigging. I wasn't like gigging, but I would go, and he would take me to like the Showboat where Shirley Horn be playing, or he'd take me to the Caverns and watch Miles Davis, or he'd take me different places to watch musicians play. And I was one of those kind of kids that you could leave me sitting over there with a hamburger and some soda.
Are you good?
I'm good. When you come back, I'm still sitting there,
Wow.
because I'm digging the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you start gigging?
I started gigging probably in the 10th grade in high school.
And will you perform with the local musicians in the area?
Yeah, well, pretty much what I used to do is like Marshall Hawkins and my dad and Reuben Brown. They had they had bands, and they would practice on Saturday, and so their band would rehearse first, and I'd play with them, and then my band, which was Joe and Orville.
Oh man, that's what. And we're gonna talk about Joe and Orville because we got some stories. But so at some point you graduate high school.
Graduated high school.
And you go to college. Where'd you go?
Well, I graduated in 71 from Coolidge, went to Bradley University. I had auditioned for Maryland, University, and for a scholarship. And of course, the day that I was getting on the plane to go to Peoria, Illinois, I got the scholarship. But it was a half scholarship. I mean, it was still a scholarship. But I didn't go to Maryland. I just said, man, I want to get out of the city, just go out into this, and it was definitely the sticks, the boondocks. And went out there, and it was such a change of scenery, And of course, I'm a Bama from D.C., so I get out there and just gotta do the whole administrative thing and register and all that. And so I thought, at that time I was in the Black Power thing. So I thought my roommate was
you had a fro.
yeah, my fro. I thought my roommate was white. So
You thought he was white?
Yeah, because his name was on the thing. So I scratched it off the thing, which was crazy. And it ended up being Charles Washington, who was a brother from Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah, but you can't scratch nobody's name off because they already got you in a room together, right?
Okay.
And so I was feeling, because I wasn't exposed to that kind of thing, and I had to grow up, socially as well. And so we went to, I got to my room, and he turned out to be a tenor saxophone player. So the next week, my parents brought my clothes and brought my drums. Man, we sat up in the dorm room and hit.
That's how you do it. Wow. So how'd you get to Howard University?
So what happened was that summer before I left to go to Bradley, we played at the Left Bank Jazz Society in Baltimore. And I was playing with my dad, and it was Aretha Franklin, but Aretha Franklin was playing piano. It was a trio.
Wow.
Yeah, she was singing. And
Is it before she was Aretha?
No, she was Aretha, but the Respect had just probably come out.
Okay, yeah.
But she only had a trio.
Okay.
But she was like, like McCoy Tyner on the piano,
yeah.
And I was playing with Mike Fogarty, Marshall Hawkins, myself, and my dad. And Byrd was on the same bill with Keita Betts, Rubin, and I forgot, it was Buck Hill. I forgot who else.
Donald Byrd?
Yeah, Donald Byrd. Was playing.
What's your dad's name?
Harry Kilgo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Byrd, we played, and Byrd saw me. He came and, hey, no, talk to you, man. What do you think about going to Howard? I said, no, I don't want to go to Howard. I'm going to Bradley University. And he said, okay, well, whatever. So I went to school. My first real, other than my roommate, my first real exposure to like music past just playing in a little club or whatever was to go to a concert. And I went to a Johnny Cash concert and was like blown away.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash. Hi, I'm Johnny Cash. I was like, whoa.
Wow, yeah.
Because the production was so hip, man. The drummers, everything was tight, the band, the lights. I was like, whoa, really? So we can go here with this?
Yeah.
So that was really cool, man. I went to like tons. I like rock. I'm a rock and roll guy, And so that summer I came home, and Tony came from Detroit to go to Howard, and the word on the street was, man, there's a piano player from Detroit, and, and so we had to hook up, and we hooked up, had a band called Kaleidoscope, whatever that was, and so we played at Crampton with Joe. Well, Joe Henderson was on the show. It was Joe Henderson, Woody Shaw, Pete Yellen.
You were playing with these guys?
No.
Okay.
We had our little college band.
Okay.
Hal Galper, Stanley Clark. Okay. And Stanley Clark and Hal Galper were playing with Stan Getz at Blues Alley. So after the first set at Crampton, they rolled out.
Wow.
Joe Chambers was playing drums. So Junie Booth had to, set in, but there was no piano player. So we were trying to get Kevin, come on, Kevin, man, on up there, man.
Yeah.
And he was scared. He didn't want.
Kevin was scared.
Yeah, he didn't want to go up there.
He ain't scared now.
No, he ain't scared now. And he didn't want to go up there. And so, I saw Joe, because Joe played with the last part of the JFK with my dad. And so I asked him. He said one thing he said to me. He said he saw me play. He said, well, first of all, you sit wrong. You never made it last the way you sit. You're sitting wrong. Second of all, do you really want to do this?
Joe Henderson tell you?
No, Joe Chambers.
Joe Chambers, okay.
Yeah. Do you really want to do this? And I'm like, hell yeah. I really want to do this. So we played the gig. I went home. As soon as I got home, phone rang. Picked up the phone and said, hey, is this Keith Kilgo? I said, yeah, hi. He said, this is Horace Silver.
Are you serious, bro?
So he said, hey man, I heard that you played at the thing tonight, you know, I'm looking for a drummer and so on and so forth. And I'm like, wow, really? Well, I need to ask my dad, I don't know. So, you know, he said, okay, well, you know, just take me down my number. And so 20 minutes later, another call, hey, just keep hearing. I'm like, yeah, this is Joe Henderson.
20 minutes later, Joe. Wow.
So I was like, I don't know what it was about Joe. Joe was just my man. Bam. I said, yeah.
You chose Joe.
I chose Joe. So I never even met Horace Silver, you know?
Wow.
I mean, I love his music, of course, and Joe played with him, you know, but I just, you know, something about Joe, you know what I mean? And so from there, I went back to Bradley. Okay, then Kevin came up there, and we went to Chicago, and we played on campus, and I met, you know, Malachi Thompson and Sonny Stitt and a lot of the jazz cats in Chicago, you know, to play with John Thompson, guitar, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And so that next year, Byrd said, man, you want to go to Howard? I'm like, okay, I'll go to Howard. So I came to Howard, and that's how I got to Howard.
So now, we're going to...
Yeah, it's a lot.
We're going to talk a little bit about how, but that led to the Blackbyrds.
Pretty much.
How did the...
Well, Byrd was already, you know, he had Joe Chambers, he had Roland Wilson, he had Stanley Cowell, he had Billy Harper, and that was kind of the Donald Byrd septet, quartet, whatever it was. And he, you know, he had just recorded a record, an album called Ethiopian Nights. And Ethiopian Nights, you know, they was trying to get there, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, so he said, well, look, let me get rid of some of these cats and hire, you know, Kevin and Barney. Barney Perry was from Buffalo, New York. And Alan Bonds, you know, from Detroit. And the marriage between the young guys and the old guys, it just didn't happen. And so...
It didn't happen?
Nah, they was fighting. They was cussing each other out. And, why you playing on my solo? And
you mean the young guys in the band?
Yeah, in the band.
Okay.
So the band, when they would hit, you know, the older cats, you know, Joe Chambers and them, you know, and they, you know, and so just a different breed, you know, different breed, different musical background. And so, you know, Byrd was like, okay, look, shit, okay, y'all, all the old cats. I see you. I'm out. Okay. And so he hired me. And David Williams was playing bass for a minute. And because, you know, David played with Cedar Walton and Billy Higgins, that trio for a long time. And he decided, he wanted a whole young band. And so he hired me, he had Joe and Barney Perry, Alan Bonds, Kevin Tony. And that, we were called the Donald Byrd Quintet for the first year, almost 2 years.
Were y'all playing like straight ahead?
Yeah, man, we were playing dee 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 dee. It was all
got you.
So he had a trumpet student by the name of Phonce Mizell. And Phonce Mizell had written songs for the Jackson Five. So he was in the corporation with Freddie Perrin and Lamont Dozier and the cats from Detroit. And they had written ABC and I Want You Back and all that stuff for the Jacksons. And so his brother, Larry Mizell, was a physical, whatever it was, some kind of science stuff, a nuclear physicist type thing. And I mean, I may be wrong, Larry, but you know what I'm talking about. And he was an engineer. He knew all of the electronic stuff. And so they moved to California to pursue production. Because Phonce, you know, I mean, he got, you know, kind of ripped off in Detroit, and, you know, he understood the business, but he was Byrd's student, so he played trumpet, and, you know, he could write and sing and all that kind of stuff. So they moved to L.A., and they got a production deal with Blue Note Records, and they had produced this record. It was all these tracks, and on this record was Harvey Mason, Joe Sample, Chuck Rainey, Wilton Felder. I mean, you just name an array of cats on the record. And the record was supposed to be for Lee Morgan.
Wow.
Because, you know, Lee Morgan was trying to get funky with it. You know, Philadelphia boys, you know.
That was the early 70s?
Yeah. And, you know, with Lee Morgan was Sidewinder, and Lee Morgan played with Wilson, did something with Wilson Pickett and all that kind of stuff. And he got killed.
Yeah, wow.
He got killed, you know. And so they were like, they had all these tracks, well, who could we put in here? And they called Donald.
Wow. And Donald brought you. And then he brought.
So what happened, Byrd? Because Byrd basically soloed on most of it. I mean, and because he's a great soloist, one of the greatest of all time. And he came in and soloed, and the record for a jazz musician to have some real groove from behind him, this thing took off.
The first one?
Yeah,
What was the first album?
Well, it was called Blackbyrd. Bum 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 boom, boom, walking along. Check it, you know that, and that was never heard of for no jazz cat.
Wow.
To be playing nothing that had this Motown.
Now, did that have any of the hits on it?
Huh?
Did that first album have any hits?
That was it. Blackbyrd was a hit. Place. I mean, what was it? Slopjaw Blues. I mean, they had about 5 hit singles.
Okay.
They came up. That was at that time was unheard of for a jazz cat. Okay, to have a funk band like the Motown band, because you had the Mizelles, you had Fonts with that Motown influence. So them beats was Harvey Mason was, you know, putting that thing in that pocket, and this record just went whew, top charts.
Wow. So did that open up gigs?
Oh, it opened up gigs. What it did, it also made Byrd more pissed off because he knew how much money he wasn't making. You know. So
open his eyes.
It opened his eyes because he didn't. You know, he was still a jazz cat.
Yeah.
You know, he really, you know, as slick as he wanted to be, he wasn't that slick. He didn't know nothing about that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So when did Orville Sanders? When did he come in?
Well, what happened is we were going. I don't know where we were going to Detroit. We were going on some gig. Joe will remember, and Barney was coming down the hall with his guitar and hit something and broke the neck off of his guitar.
Wow.
I mean, this is before we like getting on the plane to go to the gig or the truck or where we were doing. And so we said, well, look, man, it's called Orville.
He was just.
That was it.
And overtook the gig?
Overtook the gig.
Wow.
And that was it.
So now, were you guys writing for the band?
Yes. We were very competitive. I mean, super, super competitive.
Trying to get something on.
Trying to get something on the record.
Because I know Orville wrote "Soft and Easy."
Soft and Easy.
Who wrote "Rockin'," "Walking in Rhythm"?
Barney wrote that.
And
Alan wrote "Summer Love."
Rock Creek Park.
We all wrote that. I mean, I wrote the melody to it, but you know.
So it's doing it in the park. Doing what in the park?
Everything you can. That you can get away with.
And Rock Creek Park is the park here
in Washington, D.C.
Did you ever have any time of doing it in the park?
Absolutely, sir. Multiple.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. I mean, but its inception was, I grew up right up the street. We all kind of grew up really near the park. So that's where we went in the summer, Pierce Mill to the cookouts.
Did some of these songs evolve just as y'all were playing them and then, so let's put some of this on it? And, It really?
Well, when we conceived those 2 songs, I wasn't playing drums. I was playing bass. You know, Joe was playing drums. You know?
Really? Get out, man! Come on, man!
We were in Camden, New Jersey.
You were playing bass?
Yeah, I was playing bass, and we were in Camden, New Jersey, and Byrd would always make us like come to, because we were students forever. We would always come to the gig, man, like 3-4 hours. They were still cleaning up from the night before, you know, and it was, I called it Chicken Bone Alley because it was chicken bones, wings all over the place, and the guys in there sweeping up. So we just up there just screwing around. So I took the bass, boom, 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 boom. I can't really play no bass, but I mean, you know, I'm just fooling around. And we came up with the groove. We all had tape recorders. Everyone. We had Marantz, Super Scopes, whatever you want to call them. We all carried tape recorders. We taped everything we ever played. Everything, all good. That was one of our learning tools. I mean, they're computers now, but then there were tape recorders, you know, and everybody had their tape recorder, and you pressed the button, and we recorded to it, so we remember what's going on.
So were you playing bass on the record?
No, I didn't play on the record.
So how'd you get to the drum seat, and how did
Well, we just went to the studio and said, oh, we played the groove for Byrd. Byrd was like, oh, wow, okay, yeah. So we just cut the track, right? So after we cut the track, I came back. Joe and I came back home, and the band came back home, and I was sitting up and I wrote the melody. Happy music.
Oh,
I didn't write the words, but I wrote the hook.
Yeah.
And
that's happy music.
That's happy music. And Rock Me doing it in the park.
Really, yeah.
Doing it
and you sing. You also sing on it.
Yeah, and we sang on it, and went back. So Joe went back to California to help with the mix on the record, and we took the vocals back. We had already cut Rock Creek Park. Happy Music, we didn't sing on it at all. That was Jim Gilstrap and Mary Clayton, who used to sing with Ray Charles with the Raylettes. You know, that was them on there.
Raylettes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're from Ray Charles.
Ray.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was one of the Blackbyrds have never been like a super rehearsed band. You know, we've been a band that has always just played what we felt. You know, and
that jazz element.
Yeah, we kept that jazz element in it, and it worked, and it still works. We had some different producers like George Duke and Diodato and those kind of people. Didn't really work for them because they were used to a different kind of energy, you know. But that's how we are a garage band. We are a basement band.
So were you opening acts for bigger bands, or were you the act?
No, we were opening acts, man. We opened for Earth, Wind & Fire, for Parliament Funkadelic,
really?
For the OJs, for Gladys Knight and the Pips. We opened for, God knows, Kool and the Gang, Marvin Gaye.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay,
this one guy used to be our nemesis because he would always play too long. Jimmy Cast a bunch. And, when we did the South and stuff like that, the Silvers, what's the boys, Midnight, I can't think of them now, but Ohio Players,
wow.
All that.
So when Rock Creek Park came out, was it an anthem in D.C.? Like, did it pop in D.C.?
Well, here's the funny part. There used to be a DJ named Bobby Nighthawk. And he was on WOL. WOL was an AM station. There was no FM then. And I went to the radio station. It used to be in Georgetown. And I went to the radio station, and I took the album, and I put it on the doorstep, And on my way home, he played it.
Wow. On your way?
On my way home.
While you
driving back home, because I lived in Southeast.
How'd you feel? I mean, was you like? Was that the first time hearing yourself?
It was. Yes. In that way, in my car, my little raggedy little duster. Yeah, it was the first time to hear it on the radio, and it was like, wow. That's I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Yeah, that's when I'm like, Mom,
yeah,
radio.
I couldn't. Bobby Nighthawk, and he dug it and he helped break it right here in Washington D.C.
Wow, that's to me like one of the anthems, man. Rock Creek Park, I mean that's walking in rhythm. I mean, wow. But anyway, that's a beautiful thing, man. And did y'all make money? A lot of money?
No.
No. I got to ask you about one story.
Right.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell, how did the money? Who made the money?
The record company and Donald Byrd made the money. That's who made the money. But here's the coolest part about it. In a scope of understanding what an investment is, understanding that we did not get these opportunities because we created them, okay? Even though we wrote all the music, and Byrd had a young band who not only wrote the music, we drove the trucks, we did the whole thing. And so the investment for him, when you look at it on realistic terms, the putting up the front and the money, going to the record companies that we didn't know nobody at no record company. We didn't have no idea what no record contract looked like or what no royalty statement was supposed to be about. Those kind of things were his investment. His job, and as we grew up and become men and understand the world as we see it, was that, man, I can't give you everything.
Wow, got you.
I got you here.
Now you got to.
Hey, man, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
and
sir.
And that's how we teach our children.
That's how we teach our children.
Exactly. So, before you grew up, was there a point, because we keep it real here.
Right, absolutely.
Was there a point where you were like, he getting all the money?
Yes.
Before you understood, that piece, was there a point in y'all in the Blackbyrd evolution where you said, where's the money?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, we had lawsuits. I mean, I remember we played in San Carlos, California with the Temptations, and by mistake, because I was moving in the band pretty much, the promoter gave me the check.
Well, damn.
Yeah. So, open that joint up, and I'm like, are you serious? Wait a minute, hold up, man.
So y'all was driving on the chicken. Y'all was doing the chicken.
Chicken, yeah. We was eating,
down
warming up
there,
soup in the sink. Yeah,
Down
right.
I meet y'all over there.
Yeah. He and them, they was flying in, and we was driving the ride of trucks. So I looked at the check, and I'm like, wow, really? So I scared him, because I disappeared. So the manager, Charlie Graziano, bless his soul, our manager at the time, he started to panic. He said, well, I gave the check to, what's going on? He said, you got a check to who? He said, the guy with the bow tie. He said, what guy with what bow tie? Yeah, the drummer. So I hid in this little broom closet, and I could hear him going by.
Wow.
Anybody seen Keith? Anybody seen Keith? And
oh man, that's funny.
They was panicked, man. So I finally came out, and I said, "Oh, is this what you were looking for?"
Oh, that's funny, man.
So, they tried to, the rough and flower, do the moonwalk, and blah, 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 blah. But I saw then that, the inequities.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, you got to look at it this way. It took him to expose us, to give us opportunity to learn from how to write and produce from Mizell's, from Motown, to get where we were because of his thing.
Yeah,
So
it's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good, man.
So we're gonna take a break, but I want this is last story.
Okay.
We're gonna do 2 parts.
Okay, sure.
So in this last story, remember Joe and Orville, tell me the Who story. Who?
Okay.
Who?
Oh, yeah, right.
Who?
Right.
Can you share that with us?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
So this was it. So my father, and I told, because I'm friends with Tucson, Donald's son. Mm-hmm. We're very good friends. And I told him as well. My dad, one day I'd come home from the road, and I left my bags and stuff downstairs. And my royalty statement, I put it on the kitchen table because I had planned to come back down and whatever. And my father happened to just look at it, and he opened it up, and he was like, "Are you what in the world is going on here?" And he's flipping through the pages, and so I come downstairs, and he's got this like really crazy look on his face. What's wrong? He says, "Man, we got to do something about this." I said, "What?" He said, "Man, man, come on, man. Mm-hmm. This is, I mean, I get it, but man, wait a minute, hold up. This is, because it'd be like, we would earn like $434,000 in royalties and owe $700 back to the company.
Wow.
For limos, girlfriends,
all the goodies.
All the goodies, all that.
Yeah.
Come out of your money, which they had been advanced it on our behalf on our music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was in the millions, and we were just basically paying for
a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. We were paying for a good time. If you want a good time, call the Blackbyrds. You know what I'm saying? And so we went to one of my dad's legal friends, and put together a petition and so on and so forth. So we said, okay, we're going to drive to California and confront this.
Who's this?
It was Joe and Orville, Kevin, and me. I had
Joe Hall,
Orville Saunders, Kevin Tony, and myself, and Kilgo. Okay. So I had a Golden Eagle Jeep, and that was me and Kevin were in there. Joe had a little small Porsche thing, he and Orville in there. Now the trip was ill-fated to begin with because it was nothing but disasters all the way to California. I was something wrong with the way I had my roof on the Jeep, and every time I got up at 60 miles an hour, the roof blow off. So we did that for about 4-5 hours. So I found out there was something wrong with the stick thing holding it up. Joe's car couldn't stop. The way if it stopped, it cut off. So he and Orville changing drivers while we moving at 60 miles an hour. Okay. Police, we just endless. So we finally get to LA and we go up to Byrd's, apartment and we hello? Said, Donald, this is Keith and Orville. Who? Who? It's Kevin. Who?
I'm telling you, y'all need to write a song called Who.
And so he realized that he wouldn't open the door. He never opened the door. He realized at the time that we had figured it out.
Yeah, figured it out.
We had figured it out. And it wasn't the bad thing because life changed later on in the years.
Yeah.
I started working, doing stuff for him when he was
and I met him.
Yeah, you met him through me, And he got sick, and I did his thing at the Smithsonian, the Corcoran Art Gallery, and all kinds of stuff. And it wasn't that. It's just it was a kind of a rites of passage. Yeah. If you were going to stay in this business, everybody gonna give you everything. Yeah. And you gonna have to fight for yours. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So can I ask you this? And we're gonna take a break.
Okay. All right.
Would you say you paid your dues?
I think I have.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, and it's funny you say that because I started playing very young, and so that was one of the first things most musicians would say to me. Albert Daly, I used to play with in the Baltimore, Gary Bartz, and different kind of people. Clifford Jordan. They said, "Well, man, boy, you ain't paid no dues." And I didn't really understand what that meant.
Yeah.
But I do understand
it. Well, on that note, man, we're going to take a little pause.
Okay.
We're going to come back. I got a couple more topics I want to reach out on.
Sounds good.
But anyway, you're listening to the great Keith Kilgo. This is A Conversation in Jazz, and we'll be right back.
Okay.